All right, cool.
Good.
We got the live streaming started. So now we're going into here. So this is the eval plan. So we already got the first set of vitals set up, and now we are getting the second one set up for the mission. So we're going to go over this. There's 3 current missions. We're currently 3 missions. Okay. So the 3 missions are for the MO, which is basically sponsorship. We have FQV/FQN, and then we have Unity network, right? So those are the 3. What?
No, it's okay. I'm talking of SAG.
Yeah. So let's put them in the correct order.
What's the difference between FQV and FQN? The same, right?
FQV is just the evolution of FQN. So FQN is the network, frequency quantified network. FQV is frequency quantified vortex. So we're evolving from a network to a vortex.
Okay.
But the network still exists. The network exists within the vortex. The vortex is bigger than the network.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So sponsorship. All right. So the oldest. Well, I guess the first 2 kind of come together, but basically the sponsorship mission is to help solve the problems of the 21st century by using transformative networking models, right? So it's pretty much that. We can get the exact mission in a lot of the bylaws and other places that support the MO. So this is a very, very broad mission. The idea is that we can sponsor basically any program, any activity, any organization, any company that is trying to solve 21st century problems. And we do transformative networking. So our foundational principle is transformation, and we implement transformation through networking, right? So transformative networking involves a multidisciplinary, many different groups and different causes working together, networking together. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
So the Unity Network mission is to unite all people and social movements together for total societal transformation at every level. So that's the Unity Network mission, which is very, very different than the sponsorship mission. So when you look at the UniNet mission, it's very, very specific. Our goal is to unite people and social movements together and to have total societal transformation. Whereas the sponsorship is just to help solve problems of the 21st century utilizing transformative networking. Right? So you can see how different these missions are. One is very broad, and you can understand that the sponsorship mode, the Unity network is embedded into the sponsorship mode because it's much more specific. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
The last one, the last mission, or the third mission, there could be more, but the third mission is to help build economic decision-making and educational infrastructures to help build new economic decision-making and educational infrastructures to improve the life experience of being on our planet. And it's not exactly how it is, but that's pretty much directly. So basically, the third, this is the FQV mission basically at this time. Could evolve, like maybe it's Maybe FQV has an even broader mission than this, but basically we want to build new economic decision-making educational infrastructures to improve life experiences being on our planet. So the key is the infrastructure. That we are building infrastructures, not just having fun or playing or doing our own thing. It's like we want to build the social infrastructures that can outlast ourselves. And our primary goal is to improve the life experience on this planet. We're not necessarily saying that we're trying to save everybody. We're not necessarily saying we're trying to save the world. We're not even saying that we're trying to improve life experiences only for humans. We're trying to improve all life experience of just being on the planet. And life experiences don't necessarily need to be all happy-gory. It's a mix. It's like a balance of everything. It's like we just want to make the life experience of being with your family and being as a, person or animal or whatever on this world to improve, to have a better life experience. That's basically our goal.
Sure.
So these are the 3 current missions that I know about. There could be a 4th. We could evolve them. We could create a new mission. We can do whatever we want. But these are the 3 that have been around for basically almost 20 years now. The newest being the FPSUN. That one's the newest.
So, Jay, these missions, they are good, they are really interesting, but how did we implement this in real life? How do we go about?
We're doing it every day. So the sponsorship program, this is just sort of the umbrella to everything, right? Our goal is just solving problems and understanding what the problems are. So, you could use the different various orgs that we sponsor. And once we launch, we're going to go public with the sponsorship program, and we're just going to be helping people. And part of the idea, the general principle behind all of this is saying that we don't know the solutions.
Yeah,
right?
people must bring their.
Okay, and we define solutions as verified. So our definition of solutions to societal problems is verification. So therefore, if we can't verify that the solution worked, then it is still just a theory. So we support any organization, any group, any program, any idea to be implemented across the world as a potential solution for our societal problem, right? Which is we're in a big mess, right? So by saying that we want to help solve these problems, we're not saying we know the solutions. We're also not saying that we're going to solve them. We are just saying that we want to help and support people to solve them. That's our entire sponsorship program, our model, right? That's also related to our client service. And we're willing to help organizations with their social goals, right? The Unity Network was more of a personal thing. My personal, the Unity Network is what I created, right? I'm all about the Unity and all about Unity Network and uniting all people and social movements together for total societal transformation at every level. This is like the caterpillar to the butterfly approach. Caterpillar to butterfly approach. And obviously it's the most difficult of all of these. And so in terms of helping solve the 21st century problems is basically just we're launching our sponsorship, org support, and life support programs with SVG, right? So we're doing that. The launch will cover number 43, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So simply by launching, we're going to be doing that. The Unity Network, this one's a lot more complicated. We don't really focus on Unity. We don't really do the Unity Network, but obviously everything's still based on our Unity Network. We'll get into that. Basically, because we want to unite all people in social movements is why we created the sponsorship program. So technically speaking, under the process that we're working here, the Unity Network comes first, right? To understand the order here. So we wanted to unite all people in social movements, and we want to transform our society into civilization. So we created the sponsorship program because that is a way to support other movements and other people. Because that is that one component. Because if we don't even have other social movements working and organized, it's very difficult. So the sponsorship program sort of helps build a infrastructure. So the sponsorship program is kind of like our first infrastructure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As we built the sponsorship program out, we realized that that was not enough. That the sponsorship program by itself was simply not enough, and that's where we get into FQV and the idea of building additional infrastructures. So the additional infrastructures are basically like our new crypto and token models of value, which we're already doing, right? We have the basically our existing methodologies, right? And what I call the multocracy. So the multocracy is the evolutionary fourth dimensional democratic model. So currently in the world, we primarily use, dual system representative democracy. Sometimes you get into, we usually mono system. We currently use a mono system representative democracy. In a couple places, use a little bit of a dual system. But what we want to get to is the trilogy, the democratic trilogy, is a balance between representative democracy, direct democracy, and participatory democracy. So we want a balance of the democratic trilogy, but that's just a stepping stone to the multocracy, which is that we use many, many, many different dimensions of democracy as the evolution of democracy, including sociocracy. Okay. So we're all about democracy, but in a much more evolved way, because the current model basically just empowers the rich and the greedy, right? That's
Yeah.
models work. There's no checks and balances. There's no actual accountability. So we are building those methodologies, and we have the multocracy in place as an infrastructure that we want to build. So then their educational infrastructures are much broader. We actually got started on that, but basically let's just keep it as the segmentation model. So segmentation model will start building the infrastructure for the education. And all these things are going to be basically the foundation of just how to improve people's life experiences. You need better decision making, you need better economic models that don't just support the richest of the rich, and we need better educational infrastructures where people are empowered to learn and grow in ways that don't minimize their.
Yes, Jay. I'm having a question. Yeah. What is the meaning of a caterpillar to butterfly approach?
Yeah, so there's the linear evolution of society, right? Where we do a lot of the leadership and the organizations that control the world talk about, small progress, right? And there's a progressive movement. It's all about all these little baby steps and all these little progressions towards an improved society. But typically in that model, you take a bunch of steps forward and you could take a bunch of steps back, and it slides into authoritarian systems, and it slides into oligarchies, and it slides into all these very, very difficult systems. So the transformational model is saying, instead of focusing on a linear model, we're focusing on a cyclical model of full transformation all at once, to transform all of society to the way we want it simultaneously and implement all people's rights simultaneously across the world, right? So the caterpillar, when it creates a crystallisis, the caterpillar transforms into the butterfly. It doesn't do that one little tiny step at a time. It does it all at once. The caterpillar literally and then changes its basic form and function at the DNA level, at the fundamental level of its proteins and molecules, and then it rebuilds itself as a butterfly all at once, and then it flies away. Right, so that's the caterpillar to the butterfly approach, because the caterpillar to a butterfly is the manifestation in nature of the transformation. Very few organisms go through full transformation like that. And there's a couple other examples, even within society, of a transformational model that I talk about in some places. I use the term operating system, like our goal is to change the operating system, but not really change the experience. Like the overall life experience for 90% of the people on the planet, if not more, will just not change. They won't even notice, right? The goal is to change the operating system and the accountability, not necessarily change the everyday lives of people and their experiences. We want to improve the experiences of people's everyday life, but we don't want to necessarily change them. We don't want a society
Yeah.
that is destroyed, right? So the other option
Yeah.
that is different from the caterpillar approach is the idea that we destroy our society and then we rebuild a new society. And that is the idea of war and attacking and destroying the current models that are bad, and then building a new model that supposedly is going to be better, but what are the chances, right? So basically we're saying, like, instead of destroying the current thing, like you don't kill the caterpillar in order to build the butterfly, right? You actually, the caterpillar is the butterfly. You want the caterpillar to be strong and healthy and vibrant. So the more we can support the existing society, prevent total collapse, prevent war, prevent destruction, prevent suffering, and actually transform the society to something new and better, that's our goal, right? That we are building something on with the current society, not instead of the current society. We're not trying to destroy what exists. We're trying to improve and build around what exists. Like most likely, if you have one institution, the new model that we're building, there'll be 2 or 3 additional institutions that are built alongside the existing institutions, right? So like, let's say you have a Congress in a presidency, right? There might be 4 or 5 additional institutional accountability systems that are built around the existing models, right? So instead of destroying them, you just share and collaborate with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So anyways, I can go on and on about all of the different models and systems, and we have many, many different plans, and we have the comprehensive plans, and we have, there's a whole, it's ready to be implemented. We just need to raise money and actually, it's not really about money, it's about resources. We just need resources. We need to either volunteer and have access to the things that we need, or we can fundraise resources, whatever we need to do. And then in my mind, there's 3 primary goals. The first goal is like basic functionality, right? Which we are working towards. The next goal is documentation for future generations, right? So this we're working
Yeah.
like, a couple tens of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. We'll be able to continue functioning with about $10,000 to $25,000 per year, right? For keeping our basic functionality going. To document everything for future generations and kind of laying down a foundation. This is going to be kind of like a time capsule, but instead of being underground, it will be embedded into cryptographic information systems, like cryptographic decentralized information systems. And these cryptographic decentralized information systems will be able to last for potentially tens of thousands of years. Okay, so this is going to cost $100,000 to $250,000 to build this time capsule for taking all of our methodologies, all of our models, all of the infrastructures that we have designed, document them, and then embed them into a cryptographic decentralized information system that then will be able to outlast any of our own lives by potentially thousands, if not tens of thousands of years. Because everything we currently have and do is either embedded into Google or on a server or on a physical hard drive, and it will all be destroyed once we stop paying our bills. Okay, does that make sense? So basically, everything we currently have will just disappear. So, the cost of actually doing the cryptographic decentralized information system is free. There's no cost to it. The expense is the time that it's going to take us for a couple of years and actually being able to focus our time on doing the work as opposed to barely being functional and dealing with all the other issues that come up. Okay. So then the third level would be actually transforming the world. And the transforming of the world would take millions of dollars. Let's say 1 million, $2.5 million is what we would really need to raise to actually start transforming the world. So start transforming the world, like fully implement our models ASAP. Right? This is the kind of value that it would take to really do this at a global scale in multiple languages, right? We're talking about 5 to 10 languages to get anywhere. And then I think the last level would really be like, to be taken seriously. It's kind of what Alberto talks about, like having more of like, $100 million to $250 million. If you had this type of value system, so foundational value to really be taken seriously by existing infrastructures. Right, so we can work up to that. Like first we have to get our first million, 2 million, right? And we can slowly work up, and we can have things in between here. Like I feel like between 1 to 2 million all the way to 100 to 250 million, we're missing obviously the 10 million to 25 million, right? So there's another level in here that's kind of in between. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to do any of this. If we just document for future generations and then embed that in the cryptographic decentralized information systems, we can just step away and we're done. Because then once that happens, it's up to, well, at least the future generations will have the information. And they will be able to learn from everything that we've done for decades, and they can, implement it in the future if they choose to. Right? And if they don't choose it, it's fine. They don't have to. They can still learn from us, even if they build something else. Right? But either way, the key is that we are at least providing future generations with the means to implement the models that we're working on and building together. And that's basically the outcome of these 3 missions. That make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, yes.
Cool. So it's good to go over the missions. And obviously we need to be spending more time talking about the missions. That could even be one of our values, right? Just like having understanding, right? Or not values, but vitals. So are there any other questions on the actual current 3 missions? Otherwise, let's get into the vitals so that we can get off this half pay stop.
Yeah, no question. To me, the mission is very clear and very interesting for that matter.
Interested in what?
The missions.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's
we've heard
only
these before. I mean, we talk about it all the time and it comes up, but it's interesting to think about them as actual missions. It's also very interesting. One of the things that I recently did is understanding the missions in relationship to the evolution of the network into the vortex, where like, it really starts with the Unity, and then we evolved into supporting other organizations and programs. And so Unity was my vision and my wanting to do what I wanted to do. And then I was like, well, I can't do this without helping other people. So then it's like, hey, boom, sponsorship was built. And then FQV and FQN was built in relationship to understanding that it's really a broader strategic model. And the strategy council, let me make sure it's clear here. Let me add the strategy council here, is the centerpiece. So strategic council and the world views are the centerpiece to FQV and FQN. So it's like there needs to be a space where you can have many strategies working together, because the strategic models are what seems to get in the way of actually solving problems. Okay, so but yeah, it would be good to go into more on all of the missions, but I think this is a good start. Yeah, but I do feel like one of our vitals, like we start getting into the vitals, like just understanding the missions is a good important component for, like, if people don't understand the missions, then obviously the missions are not in good shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I was saying before that, you know, understanding these as really three separate missions with three separate organizational infrastructures is very important, right? Because like they're like we don't really have one single mission. In fact, we probably don't even have three. But it's good to just narrow it down. Okay, here's our three primary missions that we currently know we have. There's probably other ones, and I'm sure new ones will come emerge. But the point is that these three are our foundation so far, and they're very, very different, and they have different infrastructures, different decision-making systems, different models. Like there's all very, very different. It's not like all three of the missions are within the core team. Our core team, these are not the missions of the core team. These are the missions of our administrative function, right? So the core team is the administrative branch of the vortex. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
So we're administering these missions. We are not trying to implement the missions. The vortex, the actual MO, and all of the programs together, working collaboratively together, along with the Unity network, is implementing the missions, not us. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but obviously we want to support these missions happening, but as an administrative arm, we rarely actually focus on the missions because we're busy just dealing with all the administration and the finances and the taxes and all the backdrop stuff so that other people are able to focus on the missions.
Mission, yeah.
All right, so let's just quickly get into the list of vitals.
Vitals.
Okay, so I just want to quickly go through the brainstorm of all the vitals. Let's use, yeah, this is fine. Boom. All right, so I put that line 60 and below, and then I'm also going to list the vital brainstorm that we came up for the team. So on line 90, you'll see the brainstorm we came up for the team. So these are the vitals that we specifically thought were applicable to the team. So now what we want to do is we want to do a new brainstorm. So I'm going to go under line 110, and we're going to do a new brainstorm to brainstorm vitals for the missions. Okay? So just take a look at all these vitals. Like, you know, basically the organizational vitals are in column E. You have, you know, finances, momentum, planning, policies, compliance, cash, income, assets, consumption, resources, bills, accounting, accountability, structure, vibes, right? You've got, you know, our rhythm, we got our energy, our momentum, voice, listening, all this stuff. So these are some organizational vitals, but you have to remember, and the vitals that we talked about for the team were vibes, responsibilities, voice, communication, listening, energy, roles, position, planning, momentum, income, finances, schedule, deadlines, and goals. Okay, so what you have to understand about the missions is that the vitals that are applicable to the team and the organizations are not necessarily applicable to the missions. Okay? So the first vital that I would add for the missions is understanding. Understanding the missions seems extremely, extremely important. And then we can go into like the definitions. So, you know, making sure the team and public understand the missions is very, very important.
Very important, Jay, because if you don't understand the mission, then we're going to.
Yeah, you can't. The missions don't mean anything if no one understands them. Exactly.
Yes, everything starts from the mission.
Yes. I think there is also a pulse of the mission, right? A pulse in terms of a pulse / aliveness, where a mission needs to be alive, right? The mission needs to be alive. It needs to have agreement and support and what do you call it? Dedication. And otherwise it needs to be evolved, right, or changed, right? So there's like a pulse or aliveness to the mission where everybody either agrees to it or supports it or, is dedicated to the mission, right? Or we need a new mission. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I don't know what the correct word is for that, whether it's pulse or aliveness or, it could be, a momentum or energy.
Mm.
It could be, maybe it's just, maybe the correct term is just dedication.
Yeah.
Maybe it's dedication to the mission. Are we dedicated to the missions or not? If we're not, then the missions need to change, or we need to figure out what is preventing
A
us
new
from
mission.
being dedicated to the missions. Because if the missions are not alive, if they're not engaging, and that people are dedicated to the missions, then they don't mean anything, right? So what else? It's another vital that we could do for the missions. I think when we go up here to these missions here, there's a couple things we did. One, we have the missions written themselves. Then we had a little about the meaning, like what is the the outcomes of the mission, like outcomes or implementation, like what does the implementation of the mission look like, right? So
Yes.
so basically like some type of the implementation slash plan slash goals slash, I don't know, it's basically some type of like understanding of how the mission is being implemented and applied. I don't know exactly how that one works, but then the last thing we had is the long-term levels of the mission, like understanding what level we are, I think is very important. So like the levels, clarity on exactly what level we are on for the mission. So I think the levels are actually quite important. So for example, right now we know we're working on basic functionality, but even within basic functionality, there's many different sub levels in relationship to, cutting our budget. If we have to cut our budget, we are going to cut our budget to keep going. That's what stability is. And so the level of the understanding the mission in relationship to the resources is essential to keep the mission going. So the relationship between the
time to pause.
mission.
Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
Okay, what other possible vitals could we use for the missions?
I think we're almost understanding dedication to the mission, information, what level are we where the mission.
I can't quite hear you. Okay.
I said after going through all the vitals we have mentioned so far, to me I think everything is okay because when you understand the mission, you need to make sure you're dedicated to the mission. Then after dedicating yourself to the mission, you have to implement it. And right now we know our level we are with the mission. I think everything is we're almost there.
So maybe another one would be accomplishing the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accomplishment. So this is the mission evaluation towards success. Like, are we on track to actually be successful? And I feel like this is a really interesting concept of like, because there's implementing and having a plan, but then there's actually like, okay, what if we actually accomplished our mission? What would that mean? And understanding the long-term goal. And if you think about the accomplishment of our missions, we on all three of these we barely even started. You know what I mean? Like our missions are just vast. You know, like
Sure.
and I mean for me, if it's not worth doing, it's not worth. If it's not worth dying for, it's not worth doing.
Doing,
So
yeah.
why work on some silly little itty bitty thing that only matters to like a few people and make a bunch of money? It's like, you know, it's just not interesting to me. You know, it's like I want to work on something big. I want to work on something transformative. I want to work something that matters. Not that we're going to be successful with it, but because that's what
The mission is.
that's what we are striving for. You know, something that's actually
Mhm.
meaningful. Because if it's not meaningful, then why dedicate ourselves to it, right? So that goes back to
Yeah.
dedication. That you need meaning, right? There must be meaning to engage, you know, with. So I think the accomplishment is good, but what's interesting about accomplishment is that all of our missions are very low as far as being able to accomplish them. So I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but it's interesting to consider. So that would bring us.
Time to take a break. Please stop.
A break.
Write down whatever you were about to say and take a break for 6 minutes.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. But I feel like you know, it might bring us to like a simpler mission. For example, we could have a mission for SVG, which is just like, okay, let's just get a certain number of clients in our launch and da da da. I mean, our umbrella tickets website is kind of like a mission in of itself. So we could have a mission that's much more accomplishable, or that we're closer to accomplishing, to kind of like improve our trajectory in relationship to, okay, this is our short-term mission that's going to lead us to launch us into our longer term missions, so that we can see the trajectory of accomplishment. You know, so that could be another reason to create a new mission that is easier to accomplish. So anyways, let's take a break and then we'll keep thinking about these vitals. I feel like we're not quite done with our brainstorm. Okay, so let's take a break. We'll try to come back, keep brainstorming a little bit longer, and then we can prioritize and then finalize. All right.
Okay, Jay. 5 minutes.
And
It's
the
4
break.
o'clock.
Time to start. Please get focused on the session.
I'm back.
Going ready up. All right. Any other mission considerations?
Pardon, Jay.
Any other
No.
Missions?
No.
Or any other details in terms of vitals, like other options for the vitals?
My mic is a bit disturbing. Okay. Go on, Jack. I didn't get you well.
Okay. So anyways, I added a few other things here, like, purpose, values, principles, vision, identity, brand, expectations. So I don't know if there's anything else that we want to add to the mission vitals, but I do think there is a fourth mission that we want to add, which would be, like, we talked a lot about the co-op, about the admin, right? So we are the administrative branch, right, of the network to support the implementation of the missions, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be the contributor co-op. So the contributor co-op is very different from Unity Network Sponsorship Mode or FQV. And I believe as a co-op, we should have our own mission that explains the purpose and our implementation of the administrative branch, right? Because our mission is to support, for example, the vortex, but we ourselves are not the vortex.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah, I can see the difference.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll get into that, but I do feel like, that could be a perfect lineage within our pipeline where we know we want to do the co-op, we know we want to implement the co-op, and that's going to come right after our launch. And I feel like the co-op is the perfect place to build a new vision and a new mission that is in alignment with something that we know we can achieve now.
Pause. Please stop. Close your eyes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes.
Coolio. All right. So let's just finish these out here. So purpose would be like, the mission purpose is like, does the mission vitalize the purpose of the organization, right? Slash entity, and let's just say the entity of the entity. Values, does the mission align with the values of the entity, right?
Yeah.
Does the mission continually align? Continually align. Does the mission continually vitalize the purpose? Principles. Does the mission continually align with the principles of the entity? So, anyways, a lot of these are very related. Vision. Does the mission continually align with the vision of the entity? Identity and brand, does the mission fit with the identity and brand of the entity? Expectations, does the mission align with clear ongoing expectations for the entity? So anyways, I feel like those are kind of, not particularly exciting, but when you're looking, I don't know if those are actually good vitals, but when you're looking up mission and everything, these are all the things that come up in relationship to important things and components of a mission that you want to make sure there's alignment for. So do we evaluate any of these things? Like, absolutely not. There's just no mission evaluations going on within organizations. So this will be the first place that we do this.
Okay.
So then we can go ahead and vote. So we have Bryce, Tay. I don't know if we have Joyce and Eileen vote as well. Might as well, right? Joyce. So I'm gonna jump over, let Joyce and Eileen vote, see if they have questions and check in on them.
Yeah.
And we all can vote on this and then go on to whatever next topic you want to do, and then I'll help move us through this. So understanding, I would say this is 8. Dedication, 8. Implementation.
Yeah.
Levels.
7.
2.5.
Time for breath. Please stop and get ready. Now inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Inhale together. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Relax.
All right, so I'll be back. I'm just gonna go check in on Joyce and.
Okay. Let me come and do your voting. Do your voting. Do your voting. I choose to stop again. Will be interesting for you go. After the voting, just save again a topic for choose a more talk on. Ready? Quarterly news. Say the come. I don't go for choice. Okay. Huh?
Hello, Jen. Hello, Jen.
You're right, I'm on mute. I was talking and you were not responding. I'm also distracted from payment. All right, so I think that the top 5 is the understanding levels, dedication, accomplishment, implementation, and resources. So the question here would be like, should we do the top 3? Like, I think the top 2 is this for sure. Dedication seems super important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Time to take a break. Please stop, write down whatever you were about to say, and take a break for 6 minutes.
Jen, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we taking a break or what?
No, I gotta get going. So we either need to finish this right now or we can finish it later, but I don't know. I mean, maybe we should do the first 4. Like we could do understanding levels, dedication, and accomplishment. We could also try to combine some of these if they seem like they are related. But I think we could probably cut implementation plan and resources. Right? But I do think that dedication and accomplishment is pretty important. So I would probably go with the first
Yeah.
four. Because like if there's not dedication, it's like, what is the mission, right? And then having clarity on the accomplishment of the mission, I think it does help have, make a difference in the overall picture of the mission, that it's actually clear what and how it relates to us. So we could work on the proposal basically at this point.
So what would be the proposal?
It would be to approve the following 4 vitals for the missions branch review every 3 weeks for understanding, levels, dedication, and accomplishment of each mission, entity mission. So then all we need from here is the metrics. So for example, if you go back up to the top and you look at everyone's voice, right? This is line 8. We would request each worker and individual involved to vote for themselves on how empowered they feel, right? Because this is about their voice and whether they feel empowered and they're able to speak. So if you go down to the current vital, which is understanding, as an individual, can I, like as a leader, right? As a leader, can we just like know whether people understand the mission or not? I don't know if that's possible. I think like the metric similar to whether or not someone's voice is being heard, it's possible that the only way to know if individuals in the team and the public understands the mission is by asking them. And that we can't really decide
that was the mission.
on our own what the metric is, So maybe the question, do you, so we need to ask, individuals both within and external of the team if they understand the mission.
The mission.
Understand the meaning of the mission, right? Understand the meaning of the mission. So the question here would be, how do we want them to rate this? I mean, obviously the answer is basically yes or no. Do you understand it? Yes or no? Or maybe there's a range where it's basically like, okay, I somewhat understand it or I don't understand it. So maybe it is a score. Maybe you just do a simple 0 to 9 score. Like I fully understand it, 9. I don't understand it at all, 1, Do you think that's good? Just do a normal score voting for that?
Yeah, it should be better.
Okay. Levels. Clarity on exactly what levels we are on the mission. So this is really just like a, you need to document the levels and relate to the resources and resource use. So this would be like, level 1 to 25 or whatever. All right. Dedication pulse. Mission needs to be alive, needs to have agreement, needs to support dedication. Otherwise, it needs to be updated. So I think this is similar to understanding. So once you understand it, we would ask people who understand the mission, ask people who understand the mission and are involved if they are dedicated to the mission. I think this is another just 0 to 9 scoring, right? Accomplishment. are we on track to actually be successful and accomplish the mission? So I think that can be done by leadership as well. So maybe.
And the break time. Please get focused on the session.
Are we on track to be successful? I think this is a percentage. I think this would be a percentage total. So that would be like 0 to 100%, you know, done by the leadership, right? So basically the levels and the accomplishment is done by the leadership, and then the dedication and understanding has to be a question asked to individuals. Okay?
Yes, Chair.
So that would be the proposal. So the proposal is to approve the following 4 vitals for missions branch every 3 weeks for understanding levels, dedication, and accomplishment of each entity mission. Are there any questions?
No question.
No question.
Are there any concerns?
No.
No for me.
Are there any objections?
No objection.
Oh, and this would involve half pay stop, right? Oh, no, not really.
Yeah.
The half pay stop's already set up. No, the half pay stop's already set up, though. This is just administrative. All right. So questions, none. Concerns, none. Objections, none. So we have consensus, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I got to get going, but this was a good session. We are getting closer and closer. So this is now official. So you need to index this into the eval plan organizing spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then I'll just put this under decisions, and then I think we are done. Okay.
Okay, Chair. So are we having a session at the callback? That should be an hour from now.
Possibly. I need to do dinner first, so an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Just check in on Discord for anyone who could do Cobalt. Yeah. Good.
Okay, an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, but I probably can't do exactly an hour and a half, but I don't know. But I got to get going for now, okay?
Okay, Jay. Thank you very much.
For sure. Okay, can you let let Joyce and Eileen know that I'm going and like we're finishing up and that we also voted on this and finalized. So we are now off. We prevented half pay stop for the eval.
Okay.
Okay.
Although we do need to review all this at main session. Cool. All right. Ciao.
Yeah.